Well, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be drawing a Sharpie, but we're going to make it as realistic as we can, and we're also going to make it look like it's 3D. So let's get into it. I'm excited. This is actually the first time that I'm trying this, as far as, actually making it look 3D, jumping off the paper. Now, we're going to need a regular number 2 pencil. Now I use these microns. I have 3 of these, an 8, a 10, and a 12. And they all have different width tips. Now if you don't have that, you can always use just a Sharpie. I also have a black colored pencil. I have an X-Acto knife, and I have the white colored pencil and a gray colored pencil. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a dull pencil, and we're just going to outline our Sharpie that we want to draw. So let's see if we can start just getting some basic lines laid in. All we're going to do is just going to come across, and that's the body. We'll try to lay in the cap here, see what we're looking at. We just want to get some basic lines down to see what we're looking at, that's all. I'd say we're going to cut off maybe up around here. I'd say that's going to look good. That's about the right length. In fact, let's just take a look. Yeah, that's about right. Now, what do we do from here? Well, what we can do is I'm going to just clean up this line just for now. I'm going to take this down like that. Doesn't have to be perfect right now. We're going to fine tune that, but you know what? Pretty happy with that. Now we can also come in here, and this part we're going to do after we get some of this laid in. Okay, so what can we do now? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually lay in some of this black. Okay, now there's a couple different ways you can do it, but I'm just going to go ahead with a Sharpie right now and start laying this in. Now, why do I rotate my paper? Well, because it's easier to draw a line like this. Now, this is easy as well, but when we get into coming across like this, instead of just brushing up like this with the stroke, when we come into this, it's a little awkward. I actually teach that in my drawing course, but this is natural, this is natural. I always just go in a natural motion. So I'm going to just pull this down just like that. That's all I'm doing. Okay, now if we see some bleeding there, what I'm using is, I'm actually using this marker paper, but I did find that with Sharpie it does bleed, with the microns it doesn't. So I'm just going to lay in some big lines here, and then we're going to fine tune it with the microns. So we can come in here like this, and we can start coloring this in. It's not a big deal if it bleeds a little bit. I like to use nice long strokes like this. Just like that. We got to get something down, right? Could you go back and forth? Sure. You could go back and forth. See that? We just got to get something laid down here so we can start playing around with the colored pencil then. Okay. So there's that. That's part of the cap so far. Now, what about this body? Well, if this was cartoon drawing, I would outline this in black, like you see a lot of cartoons, and then we color inside. But I'm going for more of a realistic look, so I'm going to let that in pencil. Okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on this and fine-tuning this. So let's come in here, like I said, with the micron. I'm going to come in here with the 8, and I'm just going to clean up some of this right here. See that? See how nice that cleans up? And then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to clean that up. Just like that. See that? I'm going to clean this up just right here. And that's okay. If you can go back over it again. But you see that, how that's starting to come to life already. Now, could we elongate this a little bit to make it look? Yes, we could. There we go. I like that better. See that? Let's elongate that. Now we have our cap. Now, with the Sharpie though, there's a little indentation there because of that part of the Sharpie. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that little part there. And what we can do is we can actually, if you want, you can come in here with the pencil first, if you want. You can lay in the cap part, right? This little end of the cap, right? But it's down a little bit below, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here with this 8, right? Come in here. Just going to do that. See that? Just like that. Just going to color that in. See that? Now this takes some time. This isn't something that we can rush if we want this to look right. Okay. Now, we also have this part of the Sharpie. We can actually see that. And then this part's coming up like that, right? So now, what can we do now? Well, I'm excited to put some highlights on here. So I think that's what we're going to do next. Now, there's a few different ways. You can play around with the white or the gray. And I'm going to try the gray first because I definitely don't want too much light, but there is some highlights on this. But I can tell you there's some very dark areas too, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay in some highlights, and then we're going to go back with one of these and make it darker, and then we're going to also go over it with some colored pencil. We want to make this cap look realistic, so let's lay in something like that. You see how it's starting to come to life? See that? Then we can actually come in here along this edge like that. See that? Now why don't we want pure white? Like I could come in here with a Posca marker, but I don't want to do that because I want this to look realistic. This might be just make it look too, it'd be just too much, I think, in my opinion. Now the cap right here has a little section here. There's a little bit of dark over there, but there's some light here on this, what I'm looking at. Now I'll put a picture in the video here of what I'm looking at. But right there you have this coming across the whole way. But you see how that gives a nice light source without being overbearing. See that? So now what can we do? Well, I'm going to come in here with this 8 first because it has a thinner tip. And I'm going to make this part just a little bit darker up here. You see that? Just going to come across. And then I'm going to come in through here. Just going to come in here, go across, make some of this in here a little bit darker. See that? Just going to do that for now. Now I'm going to come across here a little bit. Just a little. We're going to blend that then with the colored pencil. Now the other thing you can do is you could come in here with this gray again, the sharp point. Barely put a little bit of a line in here. See that? Those little details makes a huge difference. So what can we do now? Well, I'm going to come in here with the black colored pencil. And what this does is this starts to make any kind of Sharpie or marker that you put down, it just makes it smoother. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to lay in some of this. Not too much. Not pressing too hard. But I want this to look smooth. So I'm going to come in here, just lay this marker, or excuse me, colored pencil over top. See that? All right. So now I think what we're going to do is I am going to come in here and make this part. So what we can do is we can just lay this in with pencil first. It starts about here, it's down on an angle, right? Just curves across, comes up. That's all it is. Just a little connector there. So let's go ahead and see what we can do there. Well, I'm just going to color that completely in with this micron. I'm going to use the 8 first. Let's just draw this right up. See that? Just come right up. That's all we're doing. Fine tune this thing. I'm going to be real careful. We don't want to go outside the lines on this one. See that? Just making nice straight lines here. See that? Just want to take our time. There's no rush. See that? Oh, this kind of comes up a little bit. See that? You can have that little section there. Let's make this a little bit wider. Now, let's see what we can do with that. Well, we can come in here with our gray. I'm going to try the white. And we're going to make this little ridge here. Goes the whole way down. The way the light is here. It's going the whole way down. By the way, little tip. I had to hot glue this because this lead for some reason was coming out. So I just hot glued this and now I don't have to buy a new white colored pencil. Just a little tip. So you can come in here and do whatever you want with this little shadow and the highlight there. Now for this, I'm going to come in here, make this just a little bit, see if I can get a little bit more in here with the white. See that? A little bit right there, reflected light. And we're going to leave that like that for now. I'm going to get into the body because then I can kind of tell how realistic it is. So what can we do here first? Well, we're going to come in with some, again, remember the outside, we're not going for a cartoon look, so I'm not going to be doing the black outline, but we're going to start with the gray colored pencil. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to start to fine tune this. See that? We can just come right down. See that? We can come across. See that? We can just come straight down. Just like that. Now what I'd like to do is I'm going to start here and start fine-tuning this area. So I'm just going to color this in like that. You see how that just wraps around a little bit. That's all it is, caps off just a little. And then we can start laying in some of this. Now, I'm going to tell you right here, I do not have a sharp pencil point. I have, it's this way and this way, but I'm using the flat side because I don't want harsh, really thin, hard lines in there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start laying in some of this shadow in here. We want to get some color on here. That's all we want to do. Now, could you use pencil, regular pencil? Sure. We're going to do some of that. But I'm initially laying in some gray. We're going to see how this looks. See, I'm just pulling down from the tip there. See that? And we're going to put some down here. Not pressing hard. We want this to look smooth transition. Just going to lay in some of this. That's all we're doing. Just laying in some color here. See that? That's all we're doing. Now, starting to look like something, right? But we have a long way to go. So now what can we do? Well, I'm going to start to fine-tune these shadows. I'll tell you what we can do is I see a ridge of light. This ridge of light continues the whole way up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and it's darker back here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to darken this up back here with one line. That's it, one line wide. And I'm going to just blend this a little bit. Coming in here with the flat side of the pencil. Just trying to blend this down. Now, we're going to fine tune this blending with a regular pencil. But again, I just wanted to get some gray in here. I want to try to use as much of this colored pencil as I can. I don't want any of that normal pencil, this one, showing right there. Now we can do the same thing over here. Let's clean up this line. See that? And we're going the same thing here. We're going to bring a nice line down like this. You see that? Now watch. I'm going to lay in some of this shadow. Just like that, with the flat side of the pencil. Nice long strokes. So this is a natural motion. It's all about hand control. See that? Just coming in here. Just like that. Now let's see where we're at. It's starting to come to life. Let's see where we're at. Let's see where we're at here. So we just got to step back and we got to take a look at this. And, you know, what do we want to do next? Well, I just noticed something. What I'm going to do, I'm going to color the end of this like that. Then I'm going to come back here with this, because there's a little tip like that. There's a little tip like that. See that? And then there's also a little bit of a highlight right there. We're going to take the black colored pencil, and this isn't so pronounced. Right here, that little, yes. That looks much better. All right, now what can we do? Well, I'm going to come in here, see what we can do with a pencil. I'm going to come in here on top of this. I am barely pressing. If you have too sharp of a pencil, then dull it. What we're going to do is we're going to see what we can do as far as some blending here. Let's see what this looks like. Again, remember, it's the first time I'm drawing a realistic 3D Sharpie. But I'm up for a challenge. I love to draw, and why not try it, right? I think it's going to come out pretty nice. Just got to take your time. 20, 30 minutes. You have something to show your friends or your family. Well, this is like shading anything else. It's just I want to be very careful because I want this to be as realistic as possible. So I'm just laying in some pencil real slow. I'm in no hurry to get this done. We want to take our time. See that? We can do that over here too. All the way up. Now what can we do? Well, we can let it like that, or I'm just going to try my finger here. It's really dry. Just going to barely touch this. Just going to blend this a little bit. Now I could use a blending stump. I'm not going to do that. Try my finger first. I like that. now what can we do? Well, we can say, okay, is that realistic enough for me? Get up top of it and say, how is it coming along? How does it look? Is it realistic enough that I can let it go? I know we have to write the Sharpie on there, but can we do anything more with the end? I think we can. I think what we're going to do is we're going to come in here with a little bit more pencil. I'm just going to darken that up a little bit. I'm going to try to put some little circles here. Just going to try to blend this just a little bit more. See how that's coming together? So we'll do a little bit more. That's all we're doing. Let's try that for now. Get this end a little bit. I'm not pressing too hard. I'm barely touching it. I just want a little bit more of a pronounced there. It doesn't look bad at all. Now, are we satisfied with it? Well, why don't we come in here and play around with this white. See what we can do. Let's just see if this makes a difference. I'm going to bring this light, this white up the whole way. And we're going to bring this in. We're going to start to blend this a little bit. See that? Kind of smooths that out, doesn't it? Ties it all together. See that? We're going to do the same thing down here. Just going to blend this. You see that? Right there. You see how that kind of just ties that in? It makes these lines kind of disappear. See that? Well, if you squint your eyes, it's starting to come to life. Now, what can we do now? I was looking at the reflections here, and I want to put a little bit more light down here. I'm going to start with the gray. Right here. Some reflected light. And then I'm going to come up like this. Just like this. I'm going to come up like this. Just a little bit. Going over to here. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I'm doing this. It's because there's some shadow I'm going to put over top of this that little clip is throwing onto here. I'm going to show you what I mean here in a second. So we're going to do it like that. Okay, and now I'm going to show you what I mean here. There's actually a little bit more light over here too. So this is what I was talking about here. We're going to come in here with the, we're going to use the 8. There's actually a reflection here that runs the whole way up to here. This actually inserts into here a little bit, like that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, run this the whole way up, just like that. We're going to color that in. I think this is going to do the trick. I was looking at it, thinking, it's missing something. This is what it's missing. You see that? I think that's what it was. Yeah, I like that. This can actually come in just a little bit more. Like that. I think I'm gonna let it like that for now. Now, what can we do? Well, we can play around with this all day if we wanted. I like that. I think from a distance that looks pretty nice. I think what we can do is we can lay in the actual Sharpie. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can come in here and outline it with this. I'm going to just write it with my number 10 here. And if it works, it works. If not, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and now it starts. You got to look at where it starts. So if you're looking here, I'm just going to make this S like that. See? This is what we're going for. That's what we're going for. So you can look at that and think, okay, where do I need to go from here if you're comparing the two? Yes, could I make this grayer? You could, but I'm going to let it like this. I might play around with more of the gray, but let's take a look and start to draw this Sharpie. So I'm going to come in here. Just like that. We're going to make this. I'm going to move to my 8, I think. I'm going to come in here. Make this darker. See that? Come in here. Do this H. A. Really got to look at all the details. Where is it thick on the letter? Does it come down here like this? Yes. See that? Then we got the A. See that? Just like that. It comes up. It's a little bit thicker through here. All right, you can bring that up. This is going to come over the same way. Now you notice I paused there, and this thing doesn't bleed. That's what I love about these microns. I don't have to worry about this bleeding. We got the P here. See that? Now this P comes up just a hair above that. And this is going to come around like this. See that? Has this little teeny curl there at the end of it. Now come in here with the eye. See that? There's no reason to rush. Okay, and then we can come in here. This is just going to curl around like this. Go down below a little bit and up. So what you can do here is you make sure you leave enough white in the middle when you do this. You see that? Just like that. You can put the little R thing there. You see that? So now we have that. Now, what I do right here is we can write permanent marker or something that we know. You could do it like this. You could just so it looks like. You see that? Because if you try to write that in there, I don't even think I have a something that's that small. But we can keep it like this. Now, I might decide to do that, but I'm gonna leave it like this for now. And now I will come in here and let's see what we can do with fine point. Let's lay this out in pencil. And we'll go over it. Let's try that. So now I'm going to use my 8. It's as small as I have. I probably should be using a 5 or smaller, but let's give it a shot. I got a 3-pack. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to barely touch it. And again, this is not only the first time I'm trying to draw a realistic Sharpie 3D, but if you guys draw this, again, this is just to point you in the right direction. Just give you some tips, some things you may not have known before. And I know this isn't going to look like a photo, but we want to try to get as close to it as possible. Now, we're not done yet. What we can do now is we can come in here. What I want to do, I think, I'm going to barely touch this with this black colored pencil. Barely touch that. I just want to make this a little more pronounced. See that? Go across right over top of that. And this pencil point is very dull that I'm using here for this black colored pencil. I'm just going to go up. We're blending. That's all we're doing. Let's do a little bit more over here. I think we're going to let it like that. Now we have some shadowing down here we need to do. I'm also going to come in here and soften this up a little bit. This light right here. Just going to soften that just a hair. What else can we do here? Is there anything else that we can do here? I think what I'm going to do is blend this a little bit more. This light is coming across. I'll blend that more. All right, now you have a couple choices here. How do we lay in? Because when you sit this here, it has that shadow. See how the shadow is up here, but it's very subtle. You don't want it too pronounced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very dull pencil. Let's see if I can grab one here. All right, so now it's time to button this thing up here. Now, I'm going to take a really dull pencil, and we need to lay in, if you look here, we need to lay in a distinct light shadow going across the bottom. So how are we going to do that? I'm going to first start laying it in right here. We know this is one spot, right? And it's going to run right here. See that? It's also going to be the whole way across. Now, you, depending on where you want to portray your light source, right? Again, I have the flat side of this. Depending on your light source, it'll be the length of the shadow, right? My light source is more directly overhead, but on an angle, so it's going to be a little bit, this shadow won't be super long. But what we're doing is we're going to color this in with our pencil lightly, put enough that we can see it. And don't worry if you make a shadow and then it's too dark or too light. That's what erasers are for, right? And I'm going to show you how to blend this thing, make it look real. Again, it's the first time I'm doing this. I'm sure there's many artists out there, even possibly watching this. You can get this thing to look a lot better than mine. I can tell you that. But my purpose for this channel is not to say I'm better than anybody else or anything like that. It's about, can I stimulate something or teach you something that maybe you didn't know before? And if I can do that, then that's great. I've succeeded. Now, we have this shadow here that comes around here as well. See that? Darken that in through there. I'm going to make that a little bit darker. See that? And I'm not trying to get pencil on the marker that I've already done. You see that? Now, let's see what we can do with a blending stump here. Let's just try this first. I'm just going to do little circles after I outline this thing. Just going to do little circles here after I outline this thing. See that? Just like that. Now we can go right up through here. Now what this is, sorry, this is a blending stump. You can get these on Amazon. This is going to make your pencil just blend smoother. Okay, and we're just going to run this the whole way up through. Just like this. Just going to, not pressing too hard. We're just trying to see what we can do with this shadow. That's all. Little circles. That's all we're doing. We're trying to make a shadow. That's all. Make this thing more realistic as much as we can. So you got to take a step back and look at that from a distance. Say, am I okay with that? The only thing I notice is I'm going to run this black colored pencil up through there. Barely. Just to highlight this. Just to make this a little more pronounced. See that? That's all we're doing. We're just going to run this up through. See that? We can blend that a little bit. That way now that shadow is a little more pronounced. you can look at that and see if you're happy with that. I'm gonna blend this just a little bit more right here. See that little spot? Now, could you can make that a little darker if you wanted, that shadow right here, underneath here. You just come back in here with the, just go over it just a little bit. Maybe fill in any voids of the white that you may have seen. See that? You can also just kind of make this bleed a little bit. This, get a little more, this shadow out this way a little bit if you want. Just a little, not too much though. But that's not bad. I might play around with it later, but I think for now, I don't think that looks bad at all. Now there's one more thing. You can do to make this look more realistic if you want. It's up to you. I'm going to take my tablet here and I'm going to get my ruler and I'd say let's go over 3 inches. So what are we going to do here? Never did this. We're going to try something here. We're going to cut this out. And we're going to see what happens. Again, I've never done this. We're going to try it. Let's see what happens here. So now that we cut that, now we have to come in here very carefully, cut this out. Very carefully, just using the point. See that? Just rotating. Full control. And again, I've never done this. But let's see what happens. Let's see what it looks like. I'm going to come down here like this, right along that edge. We've got a little bit more to go, but we're going to come this way. We're at here. Looks like we're tied up here. So, get rid of that. Let's see what that looks like. Throw another one over there. And another, right? Not bad. Tell you what, that's not bad. Now, if this was down a little bit more, it'd probably look a little more real, but I'm pretty happy with that. That's not bad for my first time. All right, until next time.